These are billions of dollars in fines and federal settlements against food companies like Abbott, the maker of Ensure, and Dannon, the maker of Activia, companies that sold products to seniors under the banner of health, while those products contain dangerous levels of hidden sugar, excessive sodium, and deceptive additives that worsen the very conditions they claim to address. The Dannon settlement alone came to $21 million, while Kellogg's paid up to $20 million more. And those are just two entries on a list that keeps going. This video names the brands, cites the court cases, and shows you exactly what is inside the product sitting on your kitchen shelf right now. Let's put things into context. 93% of Americans 65 and older live with at least one chronic condition. 79% carry two or more. Over 70% of adults 60 and older have hypertension. Nearly 29% of adults 65 and older have diabetes, with another 52% already pre-diabetic. Those numbers describe the specific audience that food companies are targeting, with products labeled healthy, heart healthy, clinically proven, and complete balanced nutrition. Court records, FTC settlements, and peer-reviewed science all point to the same conclusion. Some of the most heavily marketed products aimed at that audience are actively making those conditions worse. The global elderly nutrition market carried a value of between $21 and $24 billion in 2024, projected to reach between $33 and $45 billion by 2034. Federal regulators have repeatedly found its foundation to be built on deceptive practices. The marketing channels alone reveal everything about who these products are aimed at. Adults 65 and older watch between 4 and 5 hours of television daily, which makes daytime TV a natural advertising lane. Abbott, the maker of Ensure, and Nestlé, the maker of Boost, also place their marketing inside doctors' offices, pharmacies, and hospital systems. The hospital pharmacy channel alone controls 40.6% of the market share for elderly nutrition products. AARP magazine, reaching roughly 22 million readers, carries nutrition supplement advertising on a regular basis. Ensure built its brand around the claim of being the #1 doctor-recommended brand, positioning the product as something a physician had personally vouched for. The FTC challenged that claim back in 1997, finding that Abbott had falsely implied doctors recommend Ensure for healthy, active adults. These companies know exactly who they are selling to. They know where those consumers go for trusted information, and they have engineered their marketing to appear in the most authoritative settings in a senior's daily life. The exam room, the pharmacy counter, the afternoon television program. The trust built in those environments transfers directly to the product on the shelf. The vulnerability being exploited is not only psychological, though, it is biological. 4 things happen inside the aging body that make seniors specifically more susceptible to the hidden dangers in processed health foods. Let's start with the kidneys. Kidney function declines roughly 0.27 fluid ounces per minute every decade, starting in a person's 40s. By age 70, nearly half of all adults fall below the threshold for stage 3 chronic kidney disease. Aging kidneys cannot properly clear sodium from the body, and older adults lose approximately 50% of their capacity to manage water and solutes under stress. The result is that excess dietary sodium in a senior's system converts far more directly into elevated blood pressure than it would in a younger person. Seniors are not simply more likely to have hypertension. They are built at this stage of life to be more damaged by salt. Glucose metabolism tells a similar story. Insulin resistance climbs with age, centered primarily in skeletal muscle and made worse by increased abdominal fat and reduced lean mass. With 52% of seniors already pre-diabetic, hidden sugars in processed foods produce glucose spikes that push the body steadily toward full type 2 diabetes. Taste perception adds another layer. By age 60, a person may have lost between 20 and 60% of their sense of taste. Elderly individuals consistently require higher concentrations of both sweet and salty flavors to register them at all. The food industry's solution to declining taste sensitivity is to add more sugar and more sodium, which are exactly the 2 substances most dangerous to the population they are feeding. Then there are medication interactions. Warfarin, ACE inhibitors, ARBs, NSAIDs, metformin, and levothyroxine all interact with dietary sodium, sugar, calcium, and vitamin K in ways that carry serious consequences. Liver volume drops between 25 and 35% by age 65, meaning preservatives and additives that cycle out of a younger body quickly can remain elevated in a senior system for significantly longer. Seniors are the most vulnerable population to precisely the ingredients that food companies use most heavily. And the regulatory environment allowed this to continue unchallenged for 3 decades. On May 10, 1994, the FDA established the official legal definition of the word healthy for food labeling. It focused almost entirely on limiting fat. Sugar received no meaningful attention at all. What followed was genuinely absurd. Fat-free pudding, low-fat toaster pastries, and cereals loaded with added sugar all qualified as healthy. Almonds, avocados, salmon, and eggs did not qualify, because their fat content disqualified them. Foods the medical community now considers among the most nutritious available were legally barred from calling themselves healthy. Sugar-loaded products moved through without obstacle, For 30 years, the FDA left that definition untouched. The breaking point arrived in March of 2015, when the FDA sent a warning letter to Kind, the snack bar company, informing them that 4 of their bars could not carry the word healthy. The reason was that the saturated fat exceeded the limit of 1 gram per serving. Every gram of that fat came from nuts. Kind filed a formal citizen petition in December of 2015, backed by Dr. Walter Willett of Harvard, arguing the entire definition needed to be rebuilt. The FDA reversed its position on Kind in May of 2016 and launched rulemaking. 9 years passed before that process produced a result. On December 27, 2024, the FDA published a final rule updating the definition of healthy for the first time since 1994. Products must now contain meaningful amounts from recommended food groups and meet strict limits on saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium. The compliance date is February 25, 2028, one day before the rule was set to take effect. On February 24, 2025, the current administration delayed it under a broader regulatory freeze, a front-of-package labeling rule proposed in January 2025, which would have placed a visible nutrition box on every package, classifying saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars as low, medium, or high, now faces an uncertain future as well. 3 decades of an outdated definition, 9 years of slow rulemaking, then administrative delay, and through all of it, the products kept selling and seniors kept consuming them. Let's begin with Ensure. Launched by Abbott Laboratories in 1973 and marketed as Complete Balanced Nutrition, an 8-ounce serving of Ensure Original delivers 22 calories, 15 grams of sugar, with 14 being added sugar, and 33 grams of total carbohydrates. Water comes first on the ingredient list, followed by corn maltodextrin, sugar, and milk protein concentrate. January of 1997 brought a federal reckoning. The FTC settled charges against Abbott for deceptive advertising, finding the company had falsely implied doctors recommend Ensure for healthy active adults. Jody Bernstein of the FTC stated, Abbott went too far when it suggested that doctors recommend Ensure for healthy active people. The commission voted 5-0. Abbott had spent $45.4 million advertising Ensure in just the first 9 months of 1996. A 2022 class action alleged that Ensure's Complete Balanced Nutrition claims misled consumers, given that the product contained up to 22 grams of added sugar per serving. That is far above the FDA's proposed threshold of 2.5 grams for products claiming to be healthy. A federal appeals court dismissed the case in January of 2025, ruling that because the sugar content appeared on the label, consumers had not been deceived. The legal position was that disclosing information in small print on the back absolved the company of whatever the front of the package was engineered to make you believe. Now Boost. Made by Nestlé Health Science, Boost Original delivers 240 calories and 20 grams of added sugar per serving. Harvard Health concluded as recently as 2020, you can get similar amounts of protein, vitamins, and minerals at far lower cost from high-protein foods and a multivitamin. Both Ensure and Boost contain carrageenan, an additive linked to gut inflammation and insulin resistance that the European Union has banned from infant formula. Activia yogurt, made by Dannon, was marketed with the claim that it was, and this is pulled directly from their advertising, clinically proven to help regulate your digestive system in 2 weeks. The product sold at roughly 30% above the price of comparable yogurts. December of 2010 brought the FTC's findings. 8 out of 10 scientific studies showed no statistically significant effect of Activia on digestive transit time compared to a placebo. The FTC chairman John Leibowitz did not hold back, saying these types of misleading claims are enough to give consumers indigestion. A coalition of 39 state attorneys general settled with Dannon for $21 million, described as the largest payout involving a food producer in a multi-state attorney general action at that time. A separate private class action created a $35 million consumer reimbursement fund. After all of it, Dannon's public response was 4 words: our claims remain intact. Now Kellogg's. Their regulatory history reads like a deliberate pattern. The FTC settled charges in April of 2009, finding Kellogg's had falsely claimed Frosted Mini Wheats were clinically shown to improve children's attentiveness by nearly 20%. In reality, only about 1 in 9 children improved by that margin. A class action produced a $4 million payout. By June of 2010, the FTC expanded its order after Kellogg's claimed Rice Krispies would help support your child's immunity. Chairman Leibowitz told the company directly, "We expect more from a great American company than making dubious claims, not once, but twice." A separate class action over heart-healthy and lightly sweetened claims on Raisin Bran, Smart Start, and Frosted Mini Wheats reached final approval in November of 2021 for between $13 and $20 million. The phrase lightly sweetened carries no legal definition under FDA regulations. Any company can place it on any product and face no formal prohibition. Plain rolled oats are a legitimately nutritious food. What Quaker does to them in the flavored instant line is where the problem lives. Quaker Maple and Brown Sugar Instant Oatmeal packs 12 grams of sugar and 260 milligrams of sodium into a single 43-gram packet. That is 64% more sugar than the average cold cereal according to EWG testing. In April of 2007, the Center for Science in the Public Interest forced Quaker to tone down exaggerated health claims after the company described oatmeal as a unique whole grain that actively finds cholesterol and removes it. Then there is the pesticide issue. Environmental Working Group testing in 2018 found glyphosate in 43 out of 45 conventionally grown oat products, with Quaker Oatmeal Squares testing at nearly 18 times EWG's children's health benchmark. Multiple lawsuits followed. Naked Juice sold itself on claims including all-natural, 100% juice, and no sugar added. A single 15.2-ounce bottle of Green Machine contains 53 grams of sugar. The pomegranate blueberry carries 61 grams, exceeding the sugar per ounce content of Coca-Cola and the entire daily sugar limit recommended by the American Heart Association. A $9 million class action settlement in 2013 established that products carrying the all-natural label contained Fibersol 2, a synthetic corn fiber along with other synthetic ingredients. PepsiCo eventually sold Naked Juice and Tropicana to PAI Partners in 2021 for $3.3 billion. Coca-Cola acquired the Vitamin Water brand in May of 2007 for $4.1 billion. Products with names like Defense, Rescue, and Endurance carried marketing claims tying the drinks to reduced risk of eye disease and healthier joints. Each 20-ounce bottle held approximately 32 to 33 grams of sugar. CSPI filed suit in January of 2009. What came out of that litigation ranks among the most remarkable admissions in food industry legal history. Coca-Cola argued in court that no consumer could reasonably be misled into thinking vitamin water was a healthy beverage. A company selling a product called vitamin water, placed next to supplements in a pharmacy, went before a federal judge and argued no reasonable person would think it was healthy. A settlement approved in April of 2016 required injunctive relief only, with no consumer damages. Cliff Bars, owned by Mondelez International, contain between 14 and 16 grams of added sugar in a typical bar, with some flavors reaching 25 total grams. Up to 37% of calories come from added sugar. Organic brown rice syrup, which is sugar, leads the ingredient list in many flavors. A class action settlement of $12 million received final court approval on March 24, 2025. Campbell's Healthy Request soups carry the American Heart Association's Heart Check certification, a mark manufacturers obtain by paying approximately $3,000. A single full can delivers approximately 1,025 milligrams of sodium against the AHA's recommended daily ceiling of 1,500 milligrams for seniors. Investigators also found that Campbell's regular tomato soup and its 25% less sodium version both contain 480 milligrams of sodium per serving. Identical amounts. The reduction was calculated against the average of all Campbell's condensed soups, not against the regular version of that same product. The reduced sodium version sold for roughly 50 cents more per can. UCSF's Sugar Science Project identified at least 61 different names for sugar on food labels. Sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltodextrin, evaporated cane juice, agave nectar, barley malt, rice syrup, treacle, turbinado, crystalline fructose, and dozens more. Dr. Laura Schmidt of UCSF described the intent plainly. Creating 61 names for sugar confuses consumers and lowers the odds of recognition. Companies also split sugar across multiple types rather than listing one large amount of a single source. This pushes sugar lower on the ingredient list, where items are ranked by weight. The total sugar stays the same. It just becomes harder to see. Sodium hides behind aliases including monosodium glutamate, sodium bicarbonate, sodium benzoate, sodium nitrite, sodium citrate, disodium phosphate, trisodium phosphate, and sodium caseinate. The FDA notes that salt and sodium are not the same word, meaning products labeled unsalted can still carry significant naturally occurring sodium. Plumping and brining of poultry and fish can raise sodium content by over 500%. The word natural has never received a formal legal definition from the FDA. The agency opened a public comment period on defining it in November of 2015, and no rulemaking came out of it. Superfood, clean, wholesome, and real, are equally unregulated. When fat is removed from a product, sugar or refined starch typically goes in to replace the texture and flavor. Campbell's Healthy Request low-fat tomato soup carried 1.5 grams of fat per serving. The regular version carried 0. The version marketed as healthier actually contained more fat. Michael Moss, who wrote Salt, Sugar, Fat, captured the principle directly. If any one of salt, sugar, or fat is reduced, one or both of the other two are usually increased. Research from Cornell University's Food and Brand Lab by Pierre Chandeau and Brian Wansink found that consumers exposed to healthy marketing consistently underestimate the calorie content of their meal, and then compensate by choosing higher calorie sides and drinks. The health claim on the front does not simply deceive you about that product. It gives you permission to eat more of everything surrounding it. The misleading health food marketing targeting seniors today did not grow up on its own. Deliberate scientific manipulation stretching across 6 decades built the conditions that made it possible. In 1965, the Sugar Research Foundation paid 3 Harvard scientists $6,500, equivalent to approximately $48,000 today, to produce what was called Project 226. Dr. D. Mark Hegsted, Dr. Robert B. McGandy, and Dr. Frederick J. Stair were the researchers. Their assignment was to generate a literature review that would reduce the perceived connection between sugar and heart disease while directing attention toward dietary fat. The review ran in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1967, with no disclosure of the Sugar Research Foundation's funding. The journal did not require funding disclosure until 1984. It concluded there was no doubt that the only dietary intervention needed to address coronary heart disease was reducing cholesterol and substituting unsaturated fat. Sugar walked away without a mark on it. None of this came to light until 2016, when Dr. Kristen Kearns uncovered more than 340 internal documents in the basement of a Harvard library and the University of Illinois archives. On September 12, 2016, she and colleagues Drs. Laura Schmidt and Stanton Glantz published their findings in JAMA Internal Medicine. Among the documents was a letter from John Hickson, the Sugar Research Foundation's vice president, written to the scientists after reviewing their draft. His words, "Let me assure you this is quite what we had in mind, and we look forward to its appearance in print." Marion Nestle of NYU called the findings a smoking gun and stated that science is not supposed to work this way. Glantz concluded the scheme had delayed the development of a scientific consensus on sugar and heart disease for decades. Low-fat dietary guidelines built on that era's manipulated science made fat the villain and left sugar unchecked. The food industry reformulated products accordingly, removing fat, adding sugar, and marketing the results as health food. The FDA's 1994 definition of healthy locked that thinking into federal law for 30 years. The FDA's updated definition of healthy, published December 27, 2024, represents a real improvement. Products must now contain food from recommended groups and meet limits on saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium. A sugary cereal or sweetened yogurt drink cannot legally carry the word healthy after the February 25, 2028 compliance date. The FDA also proposed a front-of-package labeling rule in January of 2025 that would classify saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars as low, medium, or high on every package. It was tested on nearly 10,000 American adults and showed genuine effectiveness. Its future under the current administration remains unresolved. The Consumer Brands Association opposes mandatory front-of-package labeling and promotes voluntary facts-up-front labels instead. Labels that manufacturers apply to their own products at their own discretion. The enforcement record has continued to grow. Kellogg paid between $13 and $20 million in 2021. Cliff Bar settled for $12 million in March of 2025. A Nabisco settlement over whole grain claims on wheat thins reached $10 million. The FTC's 2014 Operation Failed Resolution recovered approximately $34 million across 4 enforcement actions alone. The penalties are real, but the math tells a different story. Dannon spent over $100 million advertising the products that generated a $21 million settlement. Abbott spent $45 million advertising Ensure in 9 months. The financial consequence of getting caught, in most of these cases, represents a fraction of the revenue the deceptive claims produced. The business calculation behind continuing those practices is not difficult to understand. Here is what the full body of evidence establishes. Products sold in grocery stores, pharmacies, and superstores to seniors under the language of healthy, heart healthy, clinically proven, and balanced nutrition frequently contain sugar, spread across 61 different label names, sodium hidden behind a dozen chemical aliases, and additives that kidneys and livers at 65 and 70 and 80 process more slowly than they did at 40. The FDA's definition of healthy was so outdated that a nut bar company had to petition the federal government to force reform, and that process took 9 years. Manufacturers have until 2028 to comply. The old rules govern everything until that date. The sugar industry spent 60 years constructing a scientific consensus that protected its products from scrutiny. The regulatory framework built on that era's science extended that protection for 3 more decades. Federal agencies have taken real action against Ensure, Activia, Kellogg, Naked Juice, Vitamin Water, Quaker, and Cliff Bar. And in most of those cases, the company's public position after settlement was that their products remained nutritious and consumers were well served by the outcome. 70% of adults, 60 and older, have hypertension. 52% of seniors are pre-diabetic. The products most heavily promoted to that population are disproportionately loaded with the very substances those conditions require, limiting most. Marion Nestle put the mechanism plainly. People often see those labels as proof that the food is good for them, and when they see them, they stop reading the rest of the food label. That is how it works. The front of the package is designed to stop your eyes before they reach the back. For a population managing multiple chronic conditions, taking multiple medications, and relying on these products specifically because they trust them, the distance between what the label promises and what the product delivers is not a nuance of marketing. It is a documented public health failure with a paper trail of federal enforcement actions stretching back nearly 30 years. Turn the package over, read the ingredient list, count the grams of added sugar, and find the sodium number. And keep in mind that 61 of the names on that ingredient list are all pointing at the same thing: